Hey, yo, what's up, and welcome to my corner of the internet. Drop everything you're doing and go watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
お前だけ帰ればいいでしょ。美味しかったのはお前が隣にいたからだ。なのにお前はいなくなって死んだって聞いてどれだけ心配した。
I'm completely serious. This anime is a gem that I thought was just a good meme, and you know what I'm talking about if you were on the internet when everyone was going crazy for the Dragon Maids and all the pictures and all the art and all the cosplays and stuff like that. But I'm serious. If you have time, just go watch this anime. It does some phenomenal things with its story, and the writing is incredible. And let's get into it.
ドラゴン？それから私のとこ来る？私のとこ来る？
So lately I've been on a slice of life kick. If you hadn't noticed, I made a video about how slice of life is just now one of my favorite genres, and how slice of life is kind of taking over, and it's into that mix of isekai, and it's just more noticeable that a lot of animes aren't as goal-oriented, or a lot more animes are a little bit more relaxed, and they take their time, and they're subtle in the ways they like to tell their story.
何あれ？イルルだ。混沌勢の再過激派。とにかく破壊を楽しみとしている。
Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is one such story where it is slice of life, but the way it's written is incredible. And the way I mean that is the story is written so we get the plot slowly, but the way the plot is introduced, it's hints, it's minor thoughts, it's minor details, and it's tiny things that add up and give us satisfying endings to the season. And I feel almost that this is very different. The story just feels interesting, and it kept me enthralled and made me want to watch each and every episode. And I'm super glad that I finished both seasons within a week.
弁償？教授？200万？
So the author is, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, so I'm just going to put it on the screen. And it was basically created, illustrated in 2013. And I guess this is a phenomenal show because it does something with the writing that I don't see a lot of the times. And the reason why it was interesting is because you get the story with the minimal layers, and of course the setting of slice of life, and the goal of slice of life is to make you feel good inside, to make you feel warm, to make you appreciate that you're a human being. And I've gone in depth about how slice of life has risen to make more and more people appreciate being human during this time where we're all stressed and we're all going through things. But this anime does something different. It has a very simple premise, and it adds onto it with the different perspectives and these supernatural beings and their, I guess, arguments and almost perspectives are taken into account for this show. And what I mean is when you meet our dragons, which are an assortment of characters with their own personalities and their own reasonings for coming to the human world, we see their perspective on humans. The great thing about the writing is we are viewing the story through the eyes of the dragons. It's not about Kobayashi, who is the main character, and basically she kicked off everything. But when you see some of the choices made throughout the story and how it was written, you notice that Kobayashi is a female on purpose. It almost detracts from the characteristics of having a harem and being surrounded by all these people that are attracted or at least in some sort of infatuation with Kobayashi. It also showcases the way the dragons understand humans, and it gives us a third-person view on humanity.
すみません。しかし助かりました。私は神との戦いに敗れ、この世界に逃げ延びてきました。おそらくあなたは信仰心がないから あの剣を抜けたのでしょう。
And of course, this isn't a very new idea. This is not something that you won't see every day. A being that is otherworldly looking down on humanity. This is often one of the best perspectives because as humans, we don't get to look outside of ourselves because we're experiencing it. And the very often for us to change our perspective is we have to see it from another human perspective, and even then it's not necessarily the same as some other being that has almost immortality, that has superpowers, that can do anything they want, that can go transdimensional. These dragons are basically perfection, or at least what humans strive to be in real life, and they are looking at Kobayashi and the normal life and some of the normal things that humans do, and they're acquiescing and they're having their own opinions, and they're also entertaining what it means to be a human, and they're also learning why humans enjoy living the way that they live, or why are they who they are. In the first season, it relies heavily on Toru's issue with the fact that she understands that Kobayashi's not going to live forever. Kobayashi is, at best, most humans get 100 years. At best, if everything goes right. And the show makes it a poignant point. It's a back thought, it's doubt, and it's consistently in her mind, and she has to face these thoughts, and the parallel between how humans stress over death and the way she stresses over the death of Kobayashi, and how she feels compelled to try and fix these things, to try and change Kobayashi to give her more life, because it is possible. She could find a way to give Kobayashi immortality, and it's mentioned.
私はただ今を楽しんで小林さんと一緒に過ごせたらそれでそれはいつまでだ
But Kobayashi enjoys being human. Kobayashi has no issue with anything, and she is a perfect character because she understands the greatness of being a human being, and she also has the imperfections, and she also is somewhat normal. I think some of the dodging of the sexual advances is a little unrealistic, but once again, anime, you can't just get to the dessert the first episode, because what else would there be? Even though some shows have done it and been pretty successful. The show shows us the dragon's development, the shifting, and how each character has their own perspective within the dragon world and their disagreements. And this also brings me towards season 2. Seriously, go watch this show. The writing has the layers that I mentioned earlier. The second layer is how the dragons view life and between the factions. And I think this is genius writing. The dragons are split between 3 factions: the spectators, the harmony, and the chaos faction. These 3 factions are literally fighting about the idea of free will versus the gods. And that is so human. That is one question that if you've looked at philosophy, what is free will? That is a central question of philosophy. What is the idea of choice? What is the idea of a human being being able to make mistakes and to know between right and wrong? And humans, their choices are encompassed by the ability to choose up, down, left, or right. And the dragons, they started a war with the gods because they wanted to return the world to where they are free of influence. Isn't that incredible? That is another layer of interest because the human world, nobody messes with it.
虫集めてびっくり。幼稚ですね。 構ってほしいもん。
Even though the gods are prayed to, they're even adhered to, and some factions work with the humans and some factions just watch because they're tired of fighting, and the Chaos faction just wants to bring the world to where nobody influences it. It's built on very interesting principles of philosophy. There is people that have dedicated their entire lives writing books about some of these topics, and this show at least gives you a dip of your toe, and it's intertwined with slice of life, with a love story, with all these things that are important to human life. And at the end of every episode, you end up feeling warm, you end up understanding a character, you end up understanding how humans build relationships, love, friendship, shifts and changes in perspective, how people change as they interact with others, and connections between trauma and sadness and friendship. This show did some I don't even know. I'm messing up my words. It did some phenomenal writing, and it was so understated because once you get past the edgy, sometimes you get past all the other stuff and you realize there was some solid ideas that were written incredibly deep into this story.
時矢さん、
小林殿、確かにトールタンのメイドレベルはコスプレ、外人が忍者や侍してるようなものでやんす。
そうだ、ゴシクロリータの流れの可愛さは認めるが。
I feel like I am doing a disservice if I don't recommend this to you and pay attention to some of the arguments. And then Toru's character, she literally went to fight the gods alone specifically, and spoiler alert, she did it specifically because she wanted to end the suffering of everyone else, so no one had to fight anymore. Basically exercising her own like, there's so many great layers to this story, and please give this show a chance, like, and you'll feel good, you'll enjoy the powers, and the animation is incredible. Some of the fights, though I did dislike how the fights would be too short, only a few fights were actually interesting and they were given enough time to appreciate. Sometimes Kobayashi can be a little bit annoying in how much of a stickler she is, but I guess I understand it. Not just taking anyone's advances at first glance, even though she understands that Toru really loves her and wants to be with her. Some of that stuff is a little like, that's not realistic. No one just neglects someone for so long and then finally wakes up and is like, okay, I want this. Nah, that's unrealistic. Regardless, this is a great show, and I'm so excited to recommend this to you because it was just a thrill to watch. So anyway, if you feel how I feel, have you watched this? Have you enjoyed it? Do you have any other opinions? Do you want another season? Because I absolutely do. Anyway, be easy and have a great day.